Hello, welcome to Feedback Friday. This is where Tim and I take a look at your resumes and portfolios with a goal of helping you iterate what those assets look like. If you're new here, add a link to your resume or portfolio in the chat. We do have 5 on the list already. Typically, we can get through 6 at a maximum on any particular session. So if your name isn't on the list already, we may not be able to get to it today. We do this every Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you need to write that down, there's another video feed below me, next to me, wherever you happen to be looking, and that's got all the details on there, as well as the cue for who's up next. Normally, I'm joined by Tim. He will be here momentarily. Don't you folks worry. Tim is on the way. Anything else I'm missing, I'm forgetting to talk about? This is being live streamed and recorded on YouTube. There's a link in the chat. I'll throw another one in there. So you've got the latest. The benefit there is if you don't have to take any notes. The consequence is if you don't want your sensitive data shared with the rest of the world, you may want to consider censoring that before you show it off with us, or maybe look at some other document, your phone number on your resume, for example. Beyond that, I think we're ready to go. Tim, good morning. Welcome.
Hey, good morning, Nate.
How are you?
I gotta say, in the office today, there is a little bit of music playing in the background, and I'm right next to the speaker. It's like maybe 6 feet away from me. If you can hear it, let me know.
Discord's soundproofing there is doing wonders. I don't hear a thing.
Okay, cool.
Nice. First on the list today, we got Thomas Ferner. Stick your hand up. I'm going to scroll up to the chat and see if I can find it. We're going to invite you up on stage, and we're going to learn a little bit more about you. Invite to speak. You should have a button on your screen somewhere. Thomas, good morning.
Hey, good morning, everyone.
How are you?
Everyone hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you great. How are you?
Great. I'm doing well, and you?
Super well. Great for a Friday. Give us a little bit of context about you, who you are, what you do, and what your goals are for this call.
Okay, yeah, my name is Thomas, like you know now. I have published an iPhone app that's called Freshman AI, and it is based on user data package and offline social media and building your own news feed. So I welcome you to maybe check it out on the Apple App Store and maybe start building on device with us not getting any of your data. So like I said, it's all offline. And I would be happy if you can look at downloads and app updates, especially app updates.
Thomas, let me catch you here real quick.
Yeah.
Is this a portfolio or resume type question, or is this more of a product piece question?
It's a product.
Okay, that's really cool and very exciting. Congratulations getting something out there. Having put stuff in the App Store myself, it can be quite the journey, and a little bit, not easy sometimes. I do have to be the bearer, though, of possibly unfortunate news that on these calls we typically don't go over product reviews because the scope and the context for reviewing products versus reviewing portfolios or resumes is very different, and the lens and the amount of information we would need to accurately become the experts in your field. Well, that's the pursuit of a lifetime, isn't it? That's the whole career.
Thank you for letting me know. I'm actually mainly looking to review my website because it's like very new and I added content on the website. So I don't really need like app tester right now, but I totally understand what you mean. And I hope you can just give me brief how do I say, like how you think my website looks like, and
Sure. If you'd like us to switch over to a personal website or a portfolio type piece, that'd be great. We'll totally do that.
I just have this website.
So the one we're on right here, which is Freshman App.
Yep.
Nice. Nate, what do you think? What's your take here?
Yeah, we can totally take a look at this, Thomas. A lot of the constraints still apply. So like, for example, when it comes to resumes, portfolios, we understand who the target audience is and we can provide effective, valuable feedback. We don't necessarily know your target audience, right? So like your business strategies, your constraints within your own strategies. So we can provide like some high level, shallow feedback, but we probably won't be able to go deeper than that. Is that
About
okay with you?
basic visual feedback, like basic visual feedback.
Yeah, totally can. Tim's excellent at providing
That's what I'm
visual
looking
feedback.
for. That's why I'm joined. Basic visual feedback. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Just keep in mind, visual feedback is like 30% of the battle when it comes to product stuff. Visual stuff is really important for sure. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. But is it the thing that will get people on your website and convert them? Probably not the visual stuff. We'll take a quick walk. Let's see what we see. So this is your homepage. I see there's 2 icons. Is there any reason there's 2 icons? What should I understand from the second icon?
It's Pride Month, so we all celebrate diversity this entire month. So
Okay.
I'm just using the first icon, and maybe we can go on app updates, and I have even more icons there.
Nice. I'm noticing that your top bar appears a little large in terms of like just size. I'd probably shrink the size of it down a little bit. I'd add a little bit of blur to this nav bar. Let's actually see what is this built on.
Daddy.
Interesting. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'd shrink the height a little bit, and I'd add just a little bit of a blur here. Let's see. We've got your icon here. Icon. If you look at Apple app icon guide, there's rules for where you should have the design inside of it, and I'm worried that this one violates that. Like, I think it gets a little too close to the edges over here. I would probably revisit this design requirement and see if you can get the design kind of better into the shape. Circle shapes will work better than square shapes, but in general, there's like a safe area that's the center circle or square here that you're supposed to kind of stay within if you can. And I think this one, it looks misproportioned because it doesn't follow that rule. The graphics are probably a little too large for the size of this icon. It's really cool to have a nice landing up here, but I think you're nailing it down here when you're inviting me to actually download it, because you have your CTAs. And so a good website is informative for the user. It tells the user where they should go, what you're expecting them to do. And right now, the website does not tell me what I should do yet. So I just take these CTAs and put them up here, put them on your landing over here. So freshman, and I also I don't know if Nate, there's so many directions to go here. There's so many directions.
Say whatever on the top of your head.
Yeah, let's talk about that value prop for a second, if that's all right, Tim.
Yeah.
So one of the constraints that Tim is describing is that you had mentioned let's focus on visual. Let's take a look and reevaluate some of these visuals. The consequence is we're diving into subjective reasoning real fast, as in we're talking about like the things Tim likes, the things I like, the things you like, and none of those are with any objectivity in mind, right? So keep in mind that the visual identity of a brand is a tactic on positioning. So without better understanding that positioning, then the visuals are just we're unable to provide like feedback that's really effective for you. But if we just focus on the value prop here, value props on homepages are so impactful. I'm going to paste a format in the chat. One of the things that I think is lacking in this value prop, or an opportunity to expand on, is that it doesn't quickly narrate what the application does and who it's targeting and what the benefit it is to that target audience. So there's a value prop format. This is a slightly different one than the one I typically recommend for like UXers and portfolios and product designers. But for a sales page, I think that value prop is more effective to what your goals are. And then I really like what Tim was saying. Write that value prop and then throw the download buttons right there in the header. The objective there being, if nobody ever scrolls down your page, then theoretically, if your goal is conversion and downloads, which I would imagine it is, then theoretically they never have to scroll to achieve and start that conversion funnel. How are you feeling about that?
I was thinking about that. I'm really grateful. Like, I'm very thankful for the feedback. I totally know, like, I'm like probably like overstepping so many boundaries, and yeah. I would just like to get your feedback, visual feedback about the next page app updates, because I was like mainly like thinking about the layout there, and how people will not scroll. and also just like the recent icon visual brainstorms. Sorry, I'm a speaker of a foreign language. Yeah, sorry. I hope you can understand me. Maybe you can find
Yeah.
like
So
you brought on this page.
specifically the app updates page, and maybe understand why people. So this is where we get, I think, beyond what we're willing and or capable to do during these calls. For like I said, we focus mostly on portfolios and resume pieces. This being a product piece carries a lot of baggage with it as a result of needing. It has different behavior levers it needs to push, and different conversion assumptions. And for example, like, convincing a story fast enough for someone to go here and then to continue to use the app with an understanding of how to use it and as we communicate from your page, versus someone who is on a portfolio. Everything's inside of it. It's more integrated. I have a suspicion, though, that if we go through this, there's going to be one level, which is consistency, like having consistent hero sections, having consistent
Can I ask
font
you
choices
something
here.
about font?
Yeah, there's some font choices here that are
Do you
inconsistent with each other. We have like
it
different sizes here. We have a button here, which is different from your buttons over here. Which these are correct. You should use the branded buttons for sure. But if this is
branded
technically
buttons? Okay.
downloading this as well, make sure that it kind of reflects that button state as well. And then for your app update section, this it feels unfinished because it's missing a hero section, right? This is kind of setting the tone. There's no continuity here for that. And we have different sizes of text kind of everywhere. Honestly, there's a world where maybe you don't even need this section, where it's just this, right? If you're saying app updates, here's the updates. And then if you want to talk about each update, you can include more information here. But nonetheless, I largely suspect that it's going to be, one, nailing the consistency, two, having the right layout for the right story you're trying to tell. For example, someone comes on this page, freshmanapp.com, they probably don't know this brand at all. So showing them your brand name right now probably isn't important for you. Now, one day maybe will be, because you'll be really big. You'll be a really big app and people will recognize your name. But right now, people probably don't recognize your name. So having a value statement here that's more focused on the user outcome and the user goal. So you can say, hey, this is the problem that we solve for you. By the way, the name of our app is this. Leads a little bit, it's just a little bit more persuasive because you're getting to the core problem. You're telling people why they should care about something, versus maybe this is more showcasey. I'd expect this. This is like a common mistake people make on case studies, is putting the brand names on it. And you definitely don't want your app to feel like a case study. So
I mean, it is basically right now. But thank you very much. That is all what I wanted to have. I just had like this one question about like fonts. I'm never really sure how artists decide which font they can use. Like, do you have like a database kind of idea that like fonts are free to use, so I don't have any legal issues? I never know if this font is available to use, like for like a website, for a portfolio, for collage, or like showing it at a university or showing it to a boss. And then like the Apple like human interface guidelines, they say I can use their font within the app, but I'm not sure if I'm allowed to use the SF, I think it's SF font, San Francisco font, Apple, on my website or any portfolio. Do you have any insight?
yeah, so you're going to want to use what's called a safe for web font.
Safer web. Okay.
Safe for web. So you need a font that's accessible probably through web streaming, versus something you have to download. So things like SF, I do not believe SF is web streamable as a font, which means that if users visit your website and you have San Francisco as a font, they have to download it. Versus sometimes things like Google Fonts and other things, they have dependencies that let them load in remotely. So like remote fonts. No, that has pros and cons. That's pros and cons. And so there's always typically a safe default is just to go with whatever the user's browser or what their default font is, especially for product stuff. With the exception of maybe some areas where you want to show like real personality and flair. It depends on your audience though, right? So like if you're going for like a very techie AI centric, you're gonna need a bold font. But if it's more, maybe a little more homey or more grounded, then you don't need maybe like as loud of a font. You could get away with something that's a little bit more familiar. There's a place
Mm.
called fonts.google.com. All these
These
fonts, I
programs
think, these are all
always
available
give
to
us,
use.
they always suggest us like fonts that are completely unfamiliar with us. And then me as a designer or decider, like decide which font I use. Like I never know like what is safe basically. But I guess like safer web font is like a key term to look up like on Google or something.
Web fonts in general is just a term.
Okay.
So yeah, you look up web fonts. Google Fonts comes up first. Nice. And then there's articles you can read probably about it too. This one.
And then yeah, like with Google Fonts, I probably like rely on dependencies then, like you mentioned.
Yep, you'll probably have to install them.
Okay.
Thomas, I hope we were able to provide you at least a little bit of value in our brief chat today.
100%. Like main parts I wanted to get to know, and I really appreciate the community. I've been following you since I think like a year and a half. I've been a little bit off like the last 6 months, but like now I'm gonna be a little bit more present, but not too present.
Thomas, really appreciate the kind words. Looking forward to chatting again. And then if you ever want to come back on here and showcase a resume or portfolio, we'll have much more to say about that. Really appreciate the time.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate your time too.
Tim, next on the list, we've got Don, and I'm excited to talk with Don. I grabbed a look at his he was on our list last time. We didn't have time to get to him. And his portfolio, I haven't looked at it in depth, but visually it is pronounced. And I'm excited to learn more and talk more about this.
Well, I've invited Don on. So Don, feel free to accept an invitation to speak so we can get you on the stage here. And tell us a little bit about who you are, what kind of design work you do, and then maybe what your goals are today.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
I can hear you.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing good.
Hey, so yeah, my name's Donovan. I'm originally from Lancaster, California. I kind of joined the design space around 4 years ago. I started as a product designer for a program I was a part of during college, and I was with them for about like 2, 3 years. And then from that, I kind of found a role as a web developer for a kind of like a school. They teach Mandarin. From there, I kind of found another position as a UX designer at a company named Tintype. And currently, I'm trying to position myself to get a new role as a UX designer. I'm still in school. I'm in my last semester of school, so I'll be graduating in the fall of this year. And I had a interview last 2 weeks ago, and I had an interview yesterday as well for a user researcher. So I'm just looking to get hired as as a full-time position, because most of my positions so far has been pretty much part-time. But yeah.
Okay, thanks for that context. And then you said that you interviewed for user researcher. Is that the name of the role that you're looking for?
No, the name of the role I'm looking for is a UX designer. So I don't know my portfolio. I don't have a lot of work as far as like I'd say like UI goes. It's mainly like designs for like products like posters. I did a redesign for a tea company. I also worked primarily on like physical designs like t-shirts, hoodies. I did a mural at one point, working for one of the companies that I kind of started with, which was Emoja. But I haven't feel like I've been positioning myself to find a role as a UX designer, kind of in the digital realm. And right now I'm currently working on two two case studies, actually with some of the people in this Discord chat. So I kind of just messaged two individuals and asked them if they would like to work on a project, and they agreed to it. So we're right now just working on the scope of doing a case study, so I can add more things on my portfolio.
Hey, that's exciting. That's exciting. Okay, so Donovan, as we focus today, there's a couple things that come to mind for me, which is one, we could do like a visual walk of your portfolio. We could talk about positioning statements. We could talk about strategy and kind of finding maybe a direction, learning how to target that niche. Or we could even get into a case study and kind of evaluate your case study story presentation. I'm curious though, of all those things, which one maybe sounds the most valuable to you or that you're most interested in today?
Um, I would say probably the positioning part. I mean, I don't really know. I like I just seen like one of your guys' lives, and then I kind of joined the Discord chat, and then I was happened to like stumble upon the day that you guys were actually doing like a live stream. So I wasn't really kind of aware of like how everything ran, but I would just want to know like the best route you would perceive um would give me the most value, if that makes any sense.
I love talking about positioning. It's one, half the books behind me are in the marketing space, the other half are in the product design space. My background's in marketing. But let me ask you, so you mentioned positioning is one of your goals here. Happy to talk more about that. You're still in college. Do you have any college constraints? Like, for example, happy to talk about positioning and look at your portfolio a bit, but most folk have career aspirations with their portfolio. Do you have do you have college goals with your portfolio? Do you still have to like solve your portfolio via assignments and that sort?
No, not at all. So I'm in my last semester. I completed all my coursework for my kind of electives, which was in UX design. So right now I'm just doing my general ed. So this portfolio is primarily just for career-based um, kind of work, if that makes any sense. I have landed like around two like freelance gigs with this portfolio. Actually, one of my professors recommended me to a client, and that's kind of how I um, got one of those gigs. But yeah, primarily this is just for career base.
Cool. Excellent. How familiar are you with the concept of positioning and the marketing side of identifying who you are and how that plays into your business strategy? Is all of that covered in your college courses, or is this kind of a new topic for you?
This is a new topic for me. I like one of the live streams I did watch where you talked about kind of the about section where you were mentioning kind of relating who you are into like your like a like introduction of kind of who you were, and I kind of edited my kind of about section a little bit to kind of resemble that.
Fantastic. Well, I'm stoked to have provided at least a little bit of value already. Positioning is such a wonderful conversation. Know that it's a very deep conversation by which there are college degrees dedicated to, right? So we can talk about some high level stuff here, but there will be so much more that we could talk about that we're not going to be able to cover today. Though, happy to talk more in the future. At a high level, one of my old marketing instructors used to describe positioning is the objective of owning a piece of owning a perception in a target audience's mind. Now, this is interesting in a couple of ways. One is keep in mind that marketing is a battle of perception. It's not a battle of product. So it's about building the perception of who Donovan is, not actually the skill sets that you have. A weird, interesting nuance there. Happy to talk more about that in some fashion. The number two thing is when it comes to positioning, the real benefit is understanding who your target audience is. Let's say you graduate college here in 5 months from now, and you enter the workforce of, hey, I'm a UX designer. Oh, that's the role you're targeting, right? It's not UX research. It's actually a
Yes,
UX design role.
yes, UX design.
Perfect. I'm a UX designer. I have a resume that's dedicated to UX design, but you are agnostic to that of all the other decisions like industry, specificity, what kind of company you're looking to get targeted for, like all of that stuff, right? So now you are a fish in an ocean of other fish who are also applying for the same role. So now let's say, okay, well, let's like really get specific with the niche here. Let's choose a very specific audience for you to target. And now we can say, well, actually, my name's Donovan. I'm a UX designer, and I specially work on websites for dentists that practice on kids in the Newark area of the United States, blah, blah, blah. Now, what's fascinating about this positioning is you have now reduced the amount of jobs you can get by building that perception. But when one of those organizations needs that solution solved for them, you're the only person that is designed to position around solving that problem. There are no other fish out there that are solving that problem like you are. So far fewer jobs available, but far more effective at getting you work and building a successful career. Let me pause there for a second. How is all of that sounding so far? Is that making sense?
Yeah, that making complete sense. I heard you talk about that specifically in a past live stream. So yeah, that makes sense to me.
Nice. There are sacrifices with this. Most folk are fearful in regard to like, well, that reduces the amount of jobs I can apply for. That sounds like the wrong strategy. But what's fascinating about that argument is like, let's say you want to apply for a job at Amazon. You don't get the job because you're positioned around dentistry. So your reaction might be, well, let me pull back. Let me be more generic so I can also apply for that job. Except that your competitors are also targeting specific niches, and they will have positioning dedicated to that of working at Amazon. So they still outbid you for it. So no matter what, it always makes more sense to target a particular niche and really constrain the jobs you can apply for. That's positioning in a nutshell. Plenty more books behind me that talk about that. So now the question is, Donovan, who are you? What target audience do you want to apply for? And that's a huge question that's really easy to ask on this video call, really hard to answer. There are a number of directions we could go from there, but how are you feeling about the momentum of the conversation? We could talk the rest of this call about like who Donovan is and how to find a way to get you a target audience. That may not solve your immediate needs of like, well, I also have this portfolio and I just want to get off the ground running. How are you feeling? Do you want to dive down positioning, or do you want to do like a shallow look at your website now?
I think we should dive down positioning. And I believe that because right now, like I said, I had two kind of offers, well not offers, but interviews thrown at me. I was able to make it past the second round of the last one, and then I just had the interview yesterday. So he said that he'll be able to get back to me, kind of within this week. I mean, within a week, excuse me. So I just wanted to kind of keep that momentum going as far as like landing interviews, because that's really big for me, and being able to get past that, that second round and finally get hired. So I think positioning would be kind of perfect to dive a little bit more into.
Are you applying for jobs now already?
Yeah. I just had an interview like yesterday, and then 2 weeks
Wow.
ago I had another interview. Yeah.
Cool.
The yesterday was for user research, and then the interview 2 weeks ago I had was for UX design role. But the thing that I'm kind of running into is I keep getting interviews for like startups, and I'm seeming to notice that like with startups it's kind of it's like really hectic, and a lot of things aren't really organized. And I'm like a new designer. I feel like that needs kind of like um uh, a higher up to kind of run and guide me through kind of working with like a team, if that makes any sense. Because recently I've been working with kind of people that are just kind of in the same position I'm in, like kind of just starting out, finding part-time roles to uh, gain more experience.
Totally understand. Tim, what an opportunity here to show off a potential new utility that Tim and I are building. This is still in the works, but one of the things that Tim and I have been working on behind the scenes is to enable folks to build and sort of like scratch the surface on how they might want to position themselves. So Tim has gone to designshapes.com. In the navigation menu, you'll find the Find Your Positioning link up there. And this is a utility that will enable you, it'll ask you some questions, it'll force you to make a couple of choices, and it will attempt to build you a value prop. Now, you can just fiddle around with this and play around with this. One of the things that I think is most impactful for you, Tim, scroll up to the top and find the slider dedicated to startup versus enterprise. let's see. Yes, the second from the bottom there. So check out the trade-offs drop-down link right below Tim's cursor there. This is going to summarize for you what are the advantages and disadvantages of positioning scrappy startups. And like you said, the consequences, in this case, the cons are less structure, resources, and support. It's just an area of chaos that you may not like. But the benefit is speed, ownership. You get to have a lot of say in those things. So check out this utility. I'll drop a link here in the chat, but this is going to at least enable you to like start having the conversation with how you want to position yourself. And it's like scratch the surface of, well, if this value prop that I generate is sounding right to me, if this is making the correct sacrifices and targeting the right benefits, I can then manipulate the rest of my portfolio to target and assist targeting that audience. So this should at least get you started here. Let's see here. I gotta find Tim. If you've got the link quickly, you can check that in the chat for me if you don't mind. There are
Done and dusted.
There are so many more things we could talk about in regard to positioning. I am looking at the clock and we do have to move on here fairly soon. But how are you feeling? At least, do you feel like you've got a direction you can go and at least have a little bit of value that you've some sort of actionable you can move forward with?
Yeah, I would say the actionable is just kind of looking at the website that you guys gave me. I'm still not kind of clear on just like what I can do to position myself for roles that like aren't startups. I would say I'm not really sure on that because of the direction I just been kind of heading in when it comes to landing interviews or just like startups, things like that. I don't know if it's due to my portfolio. I know I don't have like a lot of quality work. I would say I just have like one case study that I'm really, really, really proud of, but I want to have more kind of case studies that I'm really, really proud of to show either the recruits or the hiring managers.
Totally. I'll speak to it briefly, which is have a mindset to treat your portfolio just like a product. In best products, focus on users and user needs. So if you say, for example, I want to focus on, let's say not startup. So let's just say, this is going to be totally, for example, you want to focus on fintech and you want to go for medium size. So then it becomes incumbent on you to say, well, if I want to go for a financial company in the tech sector that has a medium size, so not a startup, definitely established, what are the problems that they have? What are the pain points? And then what are the necessary skills? Skills we're going to do with a thumbs up here. What are the skills that they need? That's a terrible thumbs up. Let me try that again. That's kind of a better thumbs up, right? What are the skills that would be needed to basically benefit and serve them? And what is the story or narrative that you would need? Like who are they looking for, and how do you make yourself look like the right person that they want to see? What you'll do with that information then is you go back to your website and you say, okay, if I'm on my website, what on my website would key someone in that I solve the problems that these companies have if they were a medium-sized business inside the financial sector? And right now, I think your positioning here is very minimal. That's an aesthetic, and that's a choice you can make. The trade-off, of course, is minimal branding, minimal positioning here means I have minimal insight about maybe what direction you go, and I have to look for other places to be informed about what your focus is or what sectors you specifically focus on. But you could go onto your website and you could include a statement or some sort of positioning element on here that directly identifies who you're trying to solve problems for, what the problems you solve are, and then what outcomes you typically lead to. For example, you could say something like, I am a UX and product designer helping financial tech companies solve user churn on data-heavy interfaces. Its previous projects include user conversion and acquisition improvements by 20% or some other number of that regard. And you start to include the language and to reflect your experience into these statements that then help people who are looking at you see very quickly, oh yeah, this is totally the person. This is exactly the kind of person who solves the problems that our business has. And then they'll fall in love with you. And then you get married, which is great for everyone. But essentially something like that, right? So that's probably the short answer for positioning yourself. Find where you stand, identify who you want to target, and then try to understand who are they, what are they looking for, and then how do you bridge the gap. This is where we also talk about like vertical depth. You might be, when you talk about like skills, so if you talk about like, if I'm a UX designer, a UX designer would be a horizontal chart. This is like a skill here, but then your verticals are vertical. So I can be a UX designer across anything you have vertical history with. So for example, if maybe you worked in fast food, I don't know if you did, but if you worked in fast food for like 10 years, you would probably have a pretty intimate knowledge about how fast food chains work. And so your UX ability would be, say, I have a lot of UX skill. Now I can apply it to a vertical I have a big history with, which is my fast food. And then you can multiply your vertical in your talent space by connecting the things you already have a history for and then shaping your narrative around this. So for example, maybe you worked inside of a bank. Even if it was like as a tiller or something for like 2 years, right? You worked inside of a bank. This would give you at least a little bit of context that you can then apply under a UX lens onto your portfolio to help inform people that you have the context necessary to do the job that they probably need you to do. It's a lot of information, but starting there. Does that track for you? How do you feel about
Yeah,
that?
that tracks for me. That tracks for me, and that was very, very helpful. Yeah, so I'll just make like an adjustment to the website, like kind of like you said in that homepage. And then also I'm still working on those case studies. I'll add that to my portfolio, and then kind of see where I kind of land from there. But yeah, thank you so much for all your insight. It's very helpful. And I know like the design space is really hectic right now as far as like finding roles. So I'm just grateful that I was able to land some interviews. But yeah, thank you.
Absolutely, Jonathan. I'll offer some really quick visual feedback since we don't have time for it. One thing I am noticing is that this particular animation you're using for text leaves artifacts that can kind of be seen in places. So you can see here, like your name is sticking out because it pivots, it hinges, but it doesn't hinge completely out of focus. So just kind of watch out for that. Second, you do have a couple of affordance options for things that aren't actually clickable or usable, right? I've got like a whole hover. I've got an interaction mouse for your Notion. I think a Screen Studio, ChatGPT, your tool section over here, but there's no interactivity here. So watch out for that as well. Your about page is a wall of text, quite literally. And I would just watch out for this. People are not going to read this. I doubt people will even scan this one though. It's just too difficult to scan. I'd recommend narrowing that distance quite a bit, probably getting it close to like 600, 500 in terms of width, and then centering it a little bit so that way people can actually get a chance to maybe scroll through and read it. However, you'll probably need to do something to break it up a little bit, adding some paragraph spacing, separating things out, understanding which things do you want to force the user to experience this way versus which things should they be able to scan quickly. Anytime you do an animation like this, it is so heavy cognitively to try to get through that this is probably going to make people check out. And it's so long that maybe the thing they were looking for isn't even easy to find, right? I don't get a real good sense of who you are because this is just it's not easy or fun to read. So you might be doing yourself a disservice with this particular animation here. But otherwise, it's cool. It's got a lot of animation and aesthetic to it, which is can be the double. It can be the double sword. You just got to watch out for certain things and making sure you animate the right things, draw attention to the right places.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. I'll definitely change that. I didn't even take that into consideration.
Yeah. Well, thanks for your time today, Donovan. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Tim, next on the list, we've got Harsh. Harsh, stick your hand up. Donovan, I'm pasting a link to our YouTube chat, our YouTube link in the chat. We talked about a lot of stuff. There's a recording there, so you're welcome to go back and take a look at that recording afterward.
Oh boy. Okay. Harsh, I've invited you up to the stage. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit
Yeah,
about who you are, what kind of design you do, and then maybe what your goals today are.
yeah, hello. Actually, I'm Harsh. I'm from India, and I'm still a college grad. Like, I'm in my fifth semester of my college, and I'm building mostly websites. I started by UI UX, but now I've moved to a complete full stack web developer. And this website is still into, development. Like, I'm having a lot of creative blocks in between. So I just, needed a quick overview. Like, am I going in the right direction, or we should change the direction, right? So it's a quick review thing.
Okay. So if I'm hearing you correctly, you are still you're a graduate or a soon to be graduate. You
Soon to
have a
be graduate.
background. Yep. You have a focus in UX and UI. You have pivoted towards development instead, though, primarily focusing on websites. And this is ostensibly your. Is this a personal portfolio website or is this a client-facing portfolio website?
It's a personal portfolio website.
Okay. So this is where people would come. What would, if someone wanted to learn something about you, this is where they would go to learn about you.
Yeah.
Very cool. And then today you are looking for, I guess, what are you looking for on your website here? What would you like to talk
So
about?
basically, I just wanted to know, like, I'm still applying for jobs. Like, I'm, way too new into the job thing. So I'm just wanted to know, like, is everything, oriented for a job market in 2026 or 2027, as I will be moving to the job market by end of this year, like in 2026 December, I will start applying for new job roles. So I just wanted to, make sure that everything is been going through into the same direction, like it should. I'm not drifting away from the main core development or designer thing. Like, I'm confused between being a product designer or being a development kind of a guy. Like, I'm confused in these two job roles right now, because I love both. Like, I love designing things, but I also love developing things, like just not the design.
Okay. We can talk about that.
Mm, Basically, see, I started with like the basic front end development via UI, UX, and Figma. But later on, I moved to development. But right now, like, I have few freelance clients. Like, I have around 3 to 4 freelance clients that I've been working for, like a complete product designer. Like, I've been working on their carousels, I've been working on their websites, I've been working on their overall internet appearance, like how everything looks out, like their brand kit, their logos, their social media post, anything the founder or anyone posts over their social media, it has to be go through me. Like, I'm the guy who is, checking out every single thing that whatever goes to the internet.
Okay. Okay, Nate, do you have an opinion about where we start with this, or where's our entry point here? Because there's so much to talk about. Because I'm hearing questions about like what do different roles mean, maybe some personal positioning, maybe some understanding of like what the job market is, maybe understanding what a portfolio does, maybe understanding positioning on a portfolio.
Tim, you and I are in the same mindset here. There is Harsh. There is so many things to talk about. So many cool, fun things. I'm trying to find. I'm of Tim's mindset where I'm trying to figure out what's the most value we can provide quickly, and I'm looking for more constraint. Tell me, what iteration is this? Like, what stage is this website in? Is this a draft website? Are you still working on it? Is this like launched and this is what you're advertising for your clientele?
Like, this is just a draft, it needs a lot of polish around it, right? It's just a draft, but like, I can say it's around 30 to 40% completed, I would say. Like, I have to still do the 60% thing.
Nice. That's awesome. Gosh, I love that you're coming and getting feedback when it's only like 30 or 40% done. Love the MVP mentality there and the mindset of constant iteration. Okay. Tim, I'm going to make a list here of things that we should chat with briefly. One is, I don't know what the word for this is. Animation comes to mind, but it's like, it's an arcade. It's a, there is emotion and animation, I guess, is what I'm going to write down here. Positioning is on the list. Case study formatting is on the list. And then I think those are probably the big three for me. Anything you want to add to that list there, Tim?
I do want to talk about, and maybe I missed it. I do want to talk a little bit about the difference between these roles in terms of like functionally inside of a role, what it means, and who tends to get attracted to what, and why developers are maybe on the opposite end compared to business.
Love
and
this.
how like the impact of that.
Yeah,
So that
I've
would be
got written
something
down
too.
positioning. Let's start there, and then we can talk about how he is positioning himself on his homepage. Let's do that.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, sounds good. Okay, so if we were looking at a if we were looking at roles and we put them on just a little line graph here, typically at one end of the line graph is going to be like functional doing stuff, and then on the other end would be high strategy. So let's just call this high strategy, and then over here is probably lower strategy. When you look at the types of work effort that developers, UX, UI designers, product design, business, all these have overlap with each other, but they tend to fall into an overlap with some measure of shared strategy. So people who are in product design share a lot of business thinking. They also share a lot of UX, UI thinking. And so product designers have to focus on business and UX at the same time. If you look at UX people think about product, they think about development a little bit. Developers think a lot about UX, and then also some back-end things. And obviously we could make this more granular, right? You could put in the middle here probably like graphic designer. You could put probably over here marketing probably somewhere between product and business, maybe even more towards business. So it's not perfect, but when you consider what you want to be doing as a person, you should understand the implications for what your role has for the strategy of the organization that you're working inside of. This is why business people and higher strategy roles typically tend to fall more towards full-time employment roles. High
Yeah,
strategy
right.
roles require you to have context and to be deeply embedded inside of an organization. So people who are in product design and business end up being very amenable to full-time, long-term employment, partially because they build context over time and they serve a specific outcome that leads them to have a nice home here. Whereas you start moving towards UX development, graphic development, developers and coding in general, these tend to be lower strategy, higher execution, high execution. And so these roles they have their own set of context that they need as well. But from a business perspective, they're a little bit easier to divorce because they're not as attached to the strategy. When it comes to your personal portfolio and deciding, do you want to be a developer or do you want to be a UX or UI designer, you're going to have to make a decision about how much strategy you want to have control over. If you focus yourself as purely a developer, this on the high execution, low strategy side is going to favor a little bit easier freelance roles, freelance and shorter projects. Whereas if you position yourself into a place where you're even leaning like maybe towards design engineer or someone kind of closer towards the product mindset where you're developing stuff that is business logic aware, you'll find yourself favoring towards more full-time, long-term employment with bigger companies, people who are looking for something with bigger, longer horizons. And that's truly going to be your difference. It's just about strategy. A developer would be expected to own the code, and a UX and UI designer is expected to have a measure of awareness for users, and then how that impacts product decisions and business goals by extension. And so they need to make decisions that are not just how does this look, but how does this affect behavior?
Mhm.
And so this is the misnomer, is that UX designers do have an element of UI focus, but it's only UI focus in so much as it is reflective of user behavior and intentions and invoking emotions or change over time. And so this is truly like a much higher strategy role in its pure form than towards graphic design. Graphic designers, we love them too, right? This is not a value chart, by the way, right? You need developers. You need business people. Your strategy level does not determine your value. It just determines a little bit about your positioning in a company and what types of projects you're a little bit better suited for over time. Is that answering any questions, or is that a swing and a miss from me?
Like, you made me clear, like, between the differences between every single job role. It helped me a lot. Like, I was confused, like, what is exactly what a product designer do? Like, does it only design things, or he even works on the code? Like, I'm in a position where I'm able to pull out like 50-50% of both of the things. Like, and I can design well. Also, I can code well. Like, the website you are seeing right now is built via Next.js, and I won't say it's vibe coded completely, right? Like, I have written most of the code by my own hands. Like, the issue was that, complicated dependencies like GSAP and all, these dependencies suck on vibe coding. So I had to, move on and write everything by hand. So I got a lot of exposure and experience like building the things, also the product designing thing. And I'm confused due to all this AI, everything. Every day some new thing is, launching, and people are saying now designers are dead, developers are dead. But in reality, I know no one is going to be dead. Like, job roles are just getting upgraded with new responsibilities, and the tools are getting upgraded every single day. So I just wanted to know which, based on the skills you saw, what do you say? What is better for me, to move into the development part or move into the higher strategy part?
That is a decision no one can make for you except for you, man. I wouldn't even want to try. I will say though, I'm noticing that in our dialect, we're using design two different ways. There is absolutely design, which is how things look. And that's very important. That is very, very important. But UX design is actually more about why and how things work, not necessarily the look of them. And so this is the deeper level of design. You might say design, right? So when we're talking about design, we should separate that product design and UX design is primarily focused over here. Whereas UI design and maybe more like design engineering roles are about this version of design. So when you say like design, for example, if I design a web page, if I go down here and I look at this, I see where's your work? If I click on your work, for example, I click on some of these, I'm seeing a little bit about like, oh, you made something look a certain way. I'm not necessarily seeing a lot of the why yet. Or necessarily the bigger foundation. So like even going here to technical foundation stuff, this would be more about like why something looks a certain way and how it looks versus the working and what behavior levers you're pulling. So just making sure we have some shared language there. Nate, where are we going next?
Well, I'm looking at the clock, and I think that actually answered most of the things I wanted to chat about. Harsh, I could not agree more with Tim's perception of like, I don't have the capability of answering that question for you on what direction you should go. If I were to try to answer that from a different angle and look at your current website and then answer, well, how is my current website positioning me in the workforce? Let me attempt to state then that at the moment your website is positioning you as a generalist in industry as well as a generalist in skill set. The section that Tim is currently on, web experience, interface design, smart solutions, visual identity, the perception of listing all these things, the perception that you'll build is that I have a little bit of skill in all these things as opposed to a lot of skill in one thing. Think about like building your D&D character. You can max out charisma, but then you're going to suck at the other stuff, right? So that's the perception that you're building here, that you're a generalist. The consequence with that is if we look at the job market and the jobs available, in enterprise organizations, they don't hire generalists. They hire folks with specific titles. They hire UX designers. They hire developers. They don't hire creative engineers or creative developers, the title that you're using there. Mid-level companies, exactly the same. Agencies, exactly the same. The only market available that I think is that you are targeting with your current position are startups. Those with like 10-person teams, they don't have the budget to hire multiple people, so they need to hire one person who can do at least all of it a little bit. And now the question is up to you. Are you comfortable positioning yourself around startups? Is that the correct direction for you? And if not, then we can talk about what are the shifts in balance that we could then need to manipulate to assist positioning you for the correct audience.
Like, see, I've been working with startups mostly, like who would, give freelance gigs to just freshly, fresher year student. So I had freelancers gigs from, I have gigs from US and I have gigs from Taiwan and all. So, at that point, what you were saying that these startup companies basically look for someone who is having multiple skill sets instead of having higher skill set in a single thing. So right now the whole portfolio was focused on that. Like I have multiple things that I can bring on the table. But right now, what you said made a lot of sense to me that bigger companies they don't look for a guy who has done multiple things over a time. They look for just one thing that he nails, right? So I'm focusing more to pivot from, being a generalist to being focused on a single thing. Like I can build websites fast or the UIX or the development part. I'll choose one thing, I'll move with that instead of being a generalist.
Excellent. Really awesome. I love the mindset. Now it's just figuring out how to do it, and I wish you luck on that journey.
Thanks for your time.
Yeah, well, I think one more thing that bears talking about is your website shows a lot of interaction. Nate was mentioning it, which is very cool. It's very nice that you have the click animation, you've got the little hover for the mouse, you've got you got a little bit of magnetism that's happening. You've got the shaders, you've got I'm assuming this is a Lottie or something. You've got a lot going on. The scroll here, the hover, the hidden images, but it does start to evoke a little bit of a pilot cockpit where if you get in here, you're like, there's literally like 1 million buttons and they all do different things. And it starts to feel a little bit like someone just went in here and was like, push every button at the same time. And the harmony and the specialness of each animation is a little bit less impactful because of the animations that have come before it, especially when they're all different libraries. Like my perspective, I don't know. My perspective is though that you've added like one cool library here. You have a different cool library here. You have a different library you're using over here. This is its own thing. You've got something for hover with your mouse. This is its own thing. There's so many things that are competing for attention that, if I was in this cockpit, I would not know what the most important levers are. I wouldn't know what to focus on because there's so much happening. I would invite you to consider the speed of some of these animations and the persistence. For example, this is constant, this little bat flying. Very cool. But because it's constantly going, I keep looking at it up here over here on the left when I should be looking down here. It's not directing my attention very effectively. And especially like going between different places, it feels like this is a different hero compared to over here. And the continuity is, I think, it struggles a little bit from a visual perspective. Although these are all cool libraries individually, especially like I love some of the text libraries that you've got in here, right? Like these are fun. They're very fun, but they have to serve a purpose. Otherwise, they get very noisy. And again, it feels like someone just they turned all the dials up. They turned every single one of these up to 100%. And maybe there's a time and place for that, but I don't know. There's also a power in being curated and having restraint and showing things very intentionally. You can make a big impact by using animation at the right moment rather than making me experience a ton of animation continually.
So I just need to, simplify things. Like I have to also update the copywriting. The copywriting is currently, way too niche or it's way too complicated to be understandable, right? So I'll have to first, reduce the sections. We'll have to make everything a little bit more simple, so that basically, see, the portfolio, I guess, will be mostly seen by different HRs. And not every HR is a very good designer, right? So they won't get it. I just want it to be so simple. Like, it should follow that principle. Like, if it's there, it needs to serve a purpose instead of it just, it's just there for to look good. Instead, I have to move to something like that serves a purpose on the website. Like the bat doesn't serve any purpose on the website. It's just there. So I'm thinking to remove those and basically keeping only things that serve a purpose on the website instead of bomb loading it with every cool animation that I can even think of.
There are some cool ones in here, but like, I mean, even in here, it's hard to tell like maybe exactly what the goal is here. Other than just listing all of them in here and having them have some slight magnetism, maybe a little bit. I can't even tell if they're moving. I can't tell why they're moving, but
Harsh, appreciate the time. Appreciate you being willing to hop on stage with us.
Thanks.
Tim, next on the list, we've got Odzn, Odzn. Odzn, I know it's been an hour now. If you're still out there, raise that hand. Aha.
Hi guys.
hello, welcome. Can you tell us a little bit about you? What we should call you, actually. And then also what kind of design you do, what your industry is, what your goals for today are.
Yeah, so my name is Olt, as you can see there. I'm a graphic designer. I just finished high school. And yeah, I want to just know about the actual design itself. And as you spoke earlier about positioning. But yeah, the design itself is very important for me. I work in graphic design, motion, and yeah.
You said your name was Alt? Is that
Very
how
cool.
one pronounce it? Alt?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. And you're in Kosovo. Fantastic. We've never spoken with
Yep.
somebody from Kosovo before.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Can you tell us a little bit about your long-term goals? For example, congratulations on graduating. Very talented,
Yeah.
getting stuff out here right ahead on everything. You've already got a lot of views on some of this stuff too. When you're thinking about where you're headed and what this portfolio that you're showing us is meant to do, where exactly is it serving you?
I think currently my main appeal is at other designers, which I think is the main problem because I want to appeal more to potential clients at this current moment. But I want to be in a position where I can just have creative liberties in my work and just not be, because I work at a marketing agency and I don't want to be at this current position for too long where I'm working dependent to a company. So I would love to be in a position where I can work as a freelancer. That's my main goal.
Okay, that's good. I'm glad you have a strong opinion there. I have to give because you've expressed a strong opinion, I have to do the thing where I play devil's advocate just slightly and just say a lot of people who think agencies are great and then they get into them and they're terrible. And there's also a lot of people who get into agencies, think they're terrible, and then find things are much worse outside of them as well. And so just make sure you're aware of both perspectives there. Sometimes it really helps to spend your time inside of agencies or another company and let them build up maturity and repertoire over time. So that way when you present yourself, you kind of know how to run your own operation. There can be a lot of value there.
Yeah.
But also running your own operation has a ton of perks included. It's complications, but also a ton of perks included. So Nate, where would you like to take this conversation for Olt today?
Well, we have to talk about Behance, and then we have to talk about the capability of expanding beyond Enhance, and that might be an appropriate place to start. Well, Olt, let me ask you, is it okay if we challenge your goals with Behance, or are you just wanting to focus on the creative?
I don't mind. I think anything you guys think that can benefit me in the future is a great thing, and I understand that it does seem a little unprofessional.
I think you got cut off there. I think you said unprofessional. Uh-oh, we lose you?
Oh no.
Olt.
We can't
Like,
hear you. If you're speaking, we can't hear you. I
oh,
heard for a second. There you are.
okay,
You're
my
back.
bad.
Hello.
Yeah, I think I would like to focus more on the creative aspects, but I think if it's something you guys think can benefit me, that would be great as well.
Yes, from a freelance perspective in particular. Now there are lots of platforms to go that serve freelancers. One thing to keep in mind though, when you're on other platforms, the goal of another platform is the platform to succeed, not necessarily you to succeed. Behance is notorious for this, right? If I go to your website on Behance, notice what all the biggest buttons are. I've got this whole nav bar. Anything I click on this nav bar takes me far away from you. They want me to start a free trial. They want me to sign in. They want me to go
Yeah,
to Adobe. They want me to look for other people. They want me to hire other people. They want me to explore the website. Right? They're like the service that they're giving to Alt is minimal. They're just a churn machine to get me doing Adobe stuff. You'll notice this as well, even in their buttons, right? It says here, hey, by the way, this guy's available for hire. Number one, I can just close this. Boop. And now it's gone. Which is awesome for you because that's your whole stream, right? That's the whole funnel. The second part is if I do want to talk to you, I'm like, oh wow, I really like this work. I have to sign up. Behance forces everyone to sign up. I can't chat with you. I can't follow you. I can't send you a message. I have no way of communicating with you through Behance unless I sign up for Behance, which for certain clients, that is going to be a barrier. Now, there's other people who are going to be a little bit more, shall I say, the word is like maybe serial. They serially hire freelancers all the time. It's like part of their chain. This won't be a friction point for them. But at the same time, if you're trying to find a wide variety of clients, there's a lot of people who just won't sign up, who are going to see some of your work and they're going to get stopped there. Even going into your work here, look, all the buttons here, a lot of them are Adobe centered and themed. And I get to the end and they want me to go and look at other work as well. And they want to send me other places. And so it's really hard for Nate and I to recommend people stay on Behance because of how much Behance points back to Adobe instead of pointing to you when this is supposed to be your benefit, and it's just not.
yeah, I think I can see that completely. That's fair, I think, but I haven't had a lot of time in the industry itself to kind of build enough to even get into making a website or something like that. But the work that I have now, I think I just wanted it in a way where it's presented easily and in Behance. That's, as far as I know, one of the best ways currently in an open website. So I thought I'd get it out there at least for people to be able to see.
That the value of Behance in speedily letting you showcase your work is diminishing quite a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I can agree with that as well. It does even seem unprofessional sometimes, but yeah, as I said earlier, I just wanted it to just to be out there, and I think in the future I definitely think about having some sort of website or just a more interactive way for people to see my work.
Were you pointing at me, Tim, to talk? Cool. Hey, love your motivation here. Love all the effort you're putting into
Yeah, thanks,
Behance.
guys.
Let's see here. Next for the conversation, like you've got creative here. Tim, I'm somewhat struggling to like what's the next step that we can provide value for Olt. We could certainly look at creative, but I'm fearful of diving into subjectivity too quickly.
Yeah, No, I don't want to waste you guys' times anymore, to be honest. If you don't have any more time,
Well, we could
no
certainly
problem.
depart there, but I also want to make sure you get some sort of
Yeah,
value actionable. And I don't know if we've achieved it yet, is the hurdle.
yeah, no, I think that's, to be
Yeah.
honest, the Behance part is something I didn't even think about until you said it now. So, yeah, I don't want to waste you guys' times if you have, because I know you have more people ahead. I don't mind. And thank you for the, yeah, thank you for everything you said already. Yeah.
Yeah. I do want to point out though, the work you have is good, right?
Yeah,
Like
thank
when
you.
we're looking at this, it looks great. Like when I draw a logo, it looks so dumb. Like I struggle with logos famously. Yes, now that's on the internet, I struggle with drawing logos. Some of these look really good. They're pretty cool looking.
Yeah,
It
thank you
looks
very
like
much,
Behance
man.
is doing like a weird render thing, but they look great, man. And I've
Yeah.
just, let's get you to a place where you got the ability to show that off and to let that attract people naturally over time. So I guess if anyone has ever migrated off of Behance in the past, or you don't have to leave Behance forever, right? You can keep Behance, but just also have like another place people can go, right? Have a website that you just put over here that people can click on, and then they can also see your website in a way they can contact you, including your contact information a little bit, like just put an email address here or something so people can reach out to you without having to hit this magic sign up button. Thanks, Behance, for that. And I do like that you've
Yeah.
got your links down here too. It's cool. But just making sure that you don't they don't do you too dirty. It's upsetting what Behance does, and it's definitely not your fault. So I hope you don't take away
Yeah.
feeling like you've done something wrong here.
No,
Just
no,
making
no,
sure
no
we
problem.
can
I understand
we can unearth
your
you.
insight completely. Yeah. Thank you guys again. Thank you so much.
Very quickly, Holt. Do you have a direction by which you have to solve this problem? Like, are you looking for recommendations on what's the next step in regard to web development? Or do you already have an idea there?
No, I think because I've worked with a few websites, and yeah, I mean, as you said earlier, it's very easy to do so today. But yeah, I guess I just haven't got around to it. I mean, I just finished high school. I've had a little bit busy the past few years.
Well, just having all of this within your high school years puts you well ahead of the game either way. So I think you're
Yeah,
killing it.
that's
You're
that's great to
rocking.
hear
Just
from you,
carry
man.
on.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That's great to hear from you. Thank you.
Tim, next on the
Who do you think is going to
list.
win the World Cup?
Uh-oh.
Oh, he's gone. Put it in the chat who you think is going to win the World Cup.
Those are fighting words.
Those are fighting words. Let's start a fight. Who's going to win the World Cup? Okay.
Next on the list is, I'm going to kill this pronunciation, but I would say Eobene. Eobene. Ah! Speaking of whom?
Nice. Brazil looking pretty good. I think it would be so cool if South Korea won. Like that'd be pretty cool. And then I think there's some other countries that have made it that that are just like surprising to have made it, so to speak, right? Like Iraq being in there, like so cool. But I also kind of think it's gonna be Spain. Sorry. I did invite him up. I invited him up. Go ahead and accept the invitation to speak on stage. I'm clicking the button to invite them up.
I too have
promise. I
clicked
swear.
some button. Multiple button pushes. I see them typing in the chat. They are aware.
Discord is blocking them. I don't know if we've ever encountered that bug before.
We've experienced this in a couple of other ways. Like, for example, if you're new to Discord, it will auto block you unless you go through a verification process. Is it the email verification process? Are you Eobene, however it's pronounced? Are you new to Discord? Well, then I have no answers for you. In which case, we're going to move on to the next one. But let's circle back. If you're okay hanging out for a second, we'll circle back to you and see if you're available after the next one, and we can try it again. Maybe you can find a little tech knob to turn. In the meantime, oh boy, it's another name. Roqeebat, followed by a last name. But they signed up ages ago. Are they still out here?
They are still here. I just invited them up.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi everyone. My name is Roqeebat Abdul Wahab. I am a brand designer and illustrator. I currently reside in Lagos, Nigeria. Uh, like I said, I'm a brand designer. I currently work full time at an outsourcing agency, and I'm an in-house designer currently. I put my portfolio out here today because I am looking to expand my services, I guess, into agencies instead of like just working with a company. And yeah, I want to commence working on a more personalized portfolio because this was made with Frima, and I just kind of used uh, a few ideas from a template to create this. So I'm working on the design part of a more personalized portfolio project, and I want to get more insights as to what you think I should improve in my next portfolio to attract more agency works. Yeah.
Okay. I feel like it was very clear, Nate.
Yeah, that was great.
If I repeat some of this back, you are currently working at an agency as a type of brand and creative designer. You are looking to expand beyond that into your own work, going freelance possibly.
I currently work with a company. It's an outsourcing company. So it's
Right.
not like an agency. So I want to expand into agencies instead of just being in-house. Yeah.
Gotcha. I had a little backwards. Thank you for clarifying that.
I've got two questions here. Did you already mention what title you were targeting?
Mm, when I created this portfolio, I was mostly targeting the graphic designer titles and brand designers. And now I think I want to specialize more in brand design and illustrations. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, excellent. And then you mentioned the word personalize. You've got a goal of, in your next portfolio, you're wanting to personalize the portfolio more. Would you mind going into more detail on what you mean by personalize?
Okay. I mentioned earlier that this particular portfolio was created with Frima, and it was mostly different sections of some templates that I put together. So by personalized, I meant that I want to design a portfolio that feels more like me, that has basically more personality, I guess. Yeah. Does that clear things up?
Maybe. When you say that Framer is, how might you describe Framer currently holding you back from that personalization?
I think it's not Framer. The reason why I kept like mentioning that I want a more personalized portfolio is because this particular one was created using a template, right? So I want to create something that I guess feels more like what I would actually like design myself than just some templates that I just like picked up of the website. Yeah.
Got it. I think I'm understanding. if I were to repeat that back to you, you're currently utilizing a template. That template is prohibiting you from expressing yourself and adding structure and personalization to the case studies and website that you've built. Therefore, let's move away from a template. We could potentially still stay on Framer, but you're also open to looking outside of Framer as well. Is that sounding correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. Let's see. Lots to talk about, Tim. We can certainly talk about some of the visuals here. We could talk about the benefits of Framer, or like what the capabilities of Framer. I'm tempted to start with if we think the portfolio is currently lacking anything that might suggest they're not best suitable for brand and illustration positioning. You have a preference on any of that, Tim, on what's the most effective place to start?
I have a couple of visual suggestions, mostly cleaning up stuff that I don't think tells a story, like things that I think are noise. So these would be things that are taking up a lot of real estate that are not high value. In general, though, I'm not seeing a lot that's necessarily missing, so to speak. Because there are elements here that are good. There's just a lot of elements also that are not as supportive or as helpful as they could be. It's possible that we could take some of this and make it more specific. At the same time, though, going for an agency perspective, I do think she has maybe the right aesthetic. And she has some of the right language of focusing on kind of a broad term. Because agency, right? When you do agency work, agencies try to accommodate a broad variety of clientele. And so I think her positioning being a little bit more broad here with the point of view that she's trying to get into an agency work, and that agency is going to look a lot at her visuals. I think she's okay, largely.
Yeah, I agree with that mentality.
But also, there's some stuff that I would totally zap and get rid of. So,
okay, well let's start the conversation real high level, and let's talk about some general positioning. You've mentioned your goal is agency, moving away from in-house. Now, when you say the word in-house, I don't have knowledge there of what your current team infrastructure looks like, but when we review agency, what we typically see is a couple of common structures. One is there is typically a design manager, and underneath that design manager, there are a myriad of designers. Now, what's fascinating, there are other competing models to that as well. Like, for example, you would have a design manager, but then you've got pods beneath them of teams. That could also be the case, though a little bit more rare. Now, what's fascinating about targeting agencies is that the structure by which they form their teams prioritizes different skill sets from typically that of in-house designers at a larger company like Enterprise. When it comes to agency work, they typically look for team formation rather than individual skill set. So for example, I'm a design manager at company A. I've got 5 designers, and I've got Stacy, who's really good at design systems, and I've got Jim, who's really good at accessibility. So now I'm looking to hire somebody, but what skill set am I looking to hire for that will excel the entire team as opposed to just the individual? So like if we've already got people designated for design systems and accessibility, I may not look to hire a designer that also has that specialty, right? So now the question is, if your goal is to target agencies, what interesting niche skill set are you able to provide that team formation that differentiates you from that of other candidates? Let me pause there for a second. Do you already have an inclination of an answer to that question? Or are we now in a place where let's figure out how to best position you toward that mindset?
Okay, I'm trying to understand the question. So, do I have a particular skill set that helps me stand out if I were to be assessed by an agency? Is that it?
That's a good way to summarize that question.
Okay. Well, I guess it's going to be more of like brand identity design work and illustrations, like I mentioned.
Great. Okay, cool. So, understood. Excellent. So now it's just a matter of taking a look at the portfolio and validating that it's positioning you for that direction. I see a face that Tim is wearing that is potentially looking for more constraint?
I don't. Yeah, I think I'm mute. Okay. It's more of just when we're talking about a portfolio and what a portfolio is meant to do, right? It is introducing. Oh wow, we're so zoomed in. It's introducing you to people, and they don't know who you are until they meet you online through your portfolio. And so the portfolio is kind of the heartbeat for them identifying one, who are you? Why should I care? And then what problems do you solve for me? And so what Nate's trying to get at is he's trying to say, if we look at you, what would be the reason an agency should accept you on their team? And what would be the background that you're bringing? And therefore, when people come to your website, what is this story that you're telling through your visual designs, through your copywriting? What is the narrative piece that hooks us together that makes an agency fall in love with you? And sometimes that's visual design, right? Sometimes it is like the visuals, the way it looks, but a lot of times it's also the way it's written. It's kind of the thought that goes into the structure. Especially because agencies, they see a lot of creative work. They have so much creative churn that it's impactful when they see and resonate with stuff. A little bit different from other hiring processes, just in terms of the amount of content they are always going through and seeing. So harder to surprise them, so to speak. Does that help clarify? So maybe we can kind of get towards like, what are these anchors that you want to lean on as the reasons you think you'd be very good for agencies?
Okay. Yeah. I think that I don't want to say I'm more of like a generalist, but I know that I mentioned that I'm a brand designer and illustrator, and that's like my specific niches. I also think what might attract agencies to me could be the fact that I genuinely love working with brands that has like a specific goal of empowering other people. And most of the time, while that does not like really reflect on my portfolio, most of the time I work on brand assets, on campaign assets for some of these brands and NGOs. And if there are agencies that do this specifically, like they work with these kind of brands, I think that might attract my portfolio to them. Oh, yeah. Then I also think my background coming from a team dynamic where while I'm a junior designer, I work on a lot of client-facing assets, from like decks to documents and posters. So that might be beneficial for agencies, and that might probably help me stand out to agencies. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Where it does answer the question. To what degree, it totally answers the question. Where Tim and I are struggling is, you've got a goal here of positioning. Now, of personalization. Now, what's fascinating about personalization is it's an abstract goal. So like Tim and I, if you were to have come to us and said, my goal is to move off a framer and to equip myself so I can best position myself for the next company. Look, we can talk about what the tech solutions are that look like that. We can talk about how to best position yourself. But personalization is this abstract, nebulous thought. And we're struggling to figure out like where we can narrow the conversation to provide value for you. So I'm tempted just to let me just ask you, where do you want the conversation to go from here? We could just take a look at your portfolio and do like a real high, shallow view of things we would adjust. It will be more subjective in nature. We could also talk about the formatting of case studies that could potentially redirect you best for those agency roles. Is any of that sounding applicable to your current flow, or are you looking more for like, hey, I'm looking for a general overview of my site, and what are some adjustments you would make?
Yeah, I think I would like to know or to get more context on what you think I should improve project-wise on my portfolio, and what would attract the kind of like the right people, the right agencies to me. Yeah.
Nice. Cool. In that case, I can fall back to a couple of things that I think are a couple of conversations that I think are going to provide value. One is target audience. So you're building a portfolio, and this portfolio has to target several personas that we commonly see within the industry. We've got recruiters, hiring managers, and then peers. Theoretically, your portfolio should target all three of them. Now, I haven't looked super in depth at your portfolio yet. You're doing a lot of things well, but I think there's some opportunity here and there. If we were to just talk about recruiters for a second, recruiters are folk that don't have a deep understanding of what you do. They're looking at job description A and candidate A, and they're trying to match up a lot of keywords. So their strategies typically include a lot of like SEO strategies. So for example, on your homepage, you've got a value prop helping your brand build and refine its visual identity. This is okay. The mentality is there. The mindset is there. It would be more powerful if we were to plainly state what's the title you're looking to target, who's the target audience you're looking to apply for, and what's the benefit that the target audience could get from working with you. A positioned value prop. And the recruiter can then just look at your website, see, oh, this is who that person is, this is who they're targeting, this is what their skill set is, here's the value they provide. I know immediately if this person is good for the role that I'm looking to fill, right? So for recruiters, your value prop is going to go a long way. The next thing they'll look at are case studies, but they'll skim through them. But I'm noticing that your case studies don't have a section in the navigation menu, and it's the second most important thing. So we may just want to add a little case study link in your nav, enabling everybody just to find them very quickly. I am noticing that case studies aren't like the next thing as one scrolls. Like this, the next thing as one scrolls is a CTA section, but it's interesting, and it suggests that you're freelancing and not suggesting that you're looking for the agency route. So like there's some targeting there that we could play with. Hiring managers care much more about your case studies and the formatting of those and how you break business problems down into smaller pieces. We could talk all day about a case study. We can dive more in depth there, but I'm looking at the clock and I'm knowing that like we've already chatted a little bit here. And then the final audience, just to polish off the conversation, we want to target peers. We target them in a couple of ways. These are folk that enable you to get referrals into companies, but also folk that help narrow down the candidates that hiring managers hire. And we can target them through an about page. And at the moment, I'm not sure that I'm seeing any about. Is there an about section hiding somewhere?
I don't exactly have an about section, but I think you should click on the contact me button. It kind of redirects to yeah.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, this would be a good start to an about. When I say the about page, what I'm looking to answer is this person fun to hang out with? If I share a cubicle wall with them for 8 hours, are they going to make my life miserable? Do I feel comfortable referring this person into my organization? So it's that person that you're trying to target now, and you can better target them with imagery of you, a lot of personality. One of the common phrases I say is you can think about your about page closer to like a dating profile than a business document. It really is it's a document of expression more than it is like professionalism. So the more you can expose how interesting you are as a person on this page leads those peers to be more interested in referring you, but also more interested in having hiring managers interview you first. That's the quick and dirty. Happy to dive more in depth into any of those things. But in regard to your portfolio, I think with those mindsets of like targeting recruiters, targeting hiring managers, targeting peers, I think there are things on your website that we could just either tweak, if not plain remove, because it may not be targeting any of those personas. let me pause there. How are you feeling about that? With that knowledge, do you feel like maybe there are portions of your website you might want to tweak?
Yeah, definitely. So, thank you so much for the feedback and all. Uh, I think I have a clear idea on what to and what not to include and add to my portfolio. And also, I think I need to give more thoughts into the copy, basically. Uh, Looking at it again, it genuinely feels um like an freelance designer that's looking for a client than someone who is interested in working with or for an agency, right? So yeah, you mentioned that you'd if I mean if it's possible, could you share what you think um could it could look like in a better way, what it could look like. So the main page, like this page, what do you think could improve it better in terms of like copy? Or you mentioned imagery as well. Yeah, I would consider that. So thank you.
Yeah, so let's keep in mind that the aesthetic, the visual aesthetic of your portfolio is a tactic of positioning. So now imagine that you are targeting an agency that's dedicated to making websites for dentists. You would probably change the aesthetic of that, of your current website to match that organization, right? So now imagine that you're looking for an agency that targets a different industry. You would then want to manipulate your portfolio for whatever that target audience is. Now, ignoring target audience and just knowing you're looking at agency work, in general, and Tim, love you to challenge me on this, in general, agencies are looking for cool, hip stuff. Like your current website has a lot of really interesting aesthetic polish that we would not want to use for enterprise roles, but are totally applicable to that of agency creative roles. So to answer the question of like what aesthetic would we change, we won't have an answer to that without the target audience, but your mindset is totally in the right place in regard to the creativity, funness of your site. Tim, how are you feeling about that?
Yeah, I would agree with it generally. I think for you, when I'm looking at your landing page, I think you're kind of falling into the boat of there's too many things being communicated that are not high value. Uh, for example, you do have this contact me button right next to your email address. So you should probably do something to probably have one route for contacting people, right? If someone wants to contact you, they can click the contact button. They don't have to necessarily look at your email. Figuring out how to center these. You have a button here, and a button here. I don't know if you can see that actually. So you have projects, your name, and then contact over here. But this is like kind of not really centered. It's kind of in a weird area. When you look at this top section, you've got this little notice at the top here. I don't think you need it. I think you could just delete that. When you're on this page, your value statement over here, you have a CTA for see what I can do. But before I can really see it, it gets covered up. So I would probably move this slightly higher just so I can see this button a little bit more before I scroll away. There's also a challenge that when this page loads, things load in kind of from all different directions at the same time from an animation point of view. And that feels kind of messy and chaotic. I would probably streamline this so you have less, when your animation comes in, it's a little bit more cohesive, right? On this page, you have things that just kind of fade up. And that's a little bit nice. This, I think, deserves more than that. It's just that you have elements going sideways, coming down, moving right, moving at different speeds. Some things are happening at the same time. It needs a little more orchestration. Here, you also have a couple of vanity. You have these headers up here. I would remove these, just the number of headers. They don't add a lot of value, and they take away from the message. Your messages are pretty strong here. Right, you have a good value statement here. You have nice little animation on the right-hand side. Coming down here, these images probably don't need to load this way. It's kind of a little bit different that they load like that. Maybe improving the power here. You have a whole section for your creative toolbox. I don't think you need this either. You can delete that. Then you look down here, process. These are vanity metrics. I don't think these are going to be impressive. I think these are actually going to date you a little bit. So I would remove those. You've got this little section over here too. Probably don't need that. I think these are good, but you may want to make sure they match. This, like the get in touch one, pinches. These other ones spin. So probably do something so they look or feel the same, whether they all do the pinch or they all do the spin. And then, yeah, I mean, like in general, like I think if I was looking at this, it's kind of weird. I don't mean this as a negative thing either. It just has a lot of elements of a vibe coded website. It looks like it has a lot of vibe coded elements on it, where like you're putting the stuff on here, and you're like, yeah, this is valuable, but it's not really that valuable. It's just a thing to have on your website. And I think that you need to get to the place where if it's on your website, there's a reason for it. Like why it exists, or it tells like an actual story here. So even these things don't necessarily communicate too much value about you. And, they just get in the way. They distract, and anyway, especially goes from a 3 to 6, which is kind of interesting. So I feel like I've been talking for a little bit, so I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna pause there. Just see how you feel about some of that feedback at this time.
Yeah, thank you very much. I absolutely get everything. I don't know if there's a way to share updates on the next portfolio, I guess, but I'm definitely going to be working on this. And yeah, thank you so much for your time. Thank you.
Yeah, I really appreciate you being willing to hop on the stage with us. Tim, I'm looking at next on the list. We have 3 people remaining. Links in the chat. I have pinged all 3 and no responses as of yet. This might be the closing of Feedback Friday if there are no other links out there. And then in the closing of Feedback Friday, we can then convert right over to, oh, Arazin's here. Never mind. Arazin, we're going to grab you.
Hey. Hello, I'm here. Yeah,
Welcome.
2 weeks ago, I shared a PDF portfolio with you guys. I don't know if you guys remember, but
I
I'm on
remember.
a website now.
Hey, nice.
So just wanting like overall thoughts on my website, impressions, case study, understandings, positioning of, how equipped I am to be hired.
This is cool to see. Help remind me. And then, of course, give context. But if I recall correctly, you had a massive PDF that was multiple case studies, a website replacement. And I think our feedback was like, yeah, we could polish the PDF, but just work on the website instead. Was that that conversation?
Yeah, basically just that was the conversation, and it just basically started work on the website from there. And the PDF, like as I expected, was a good outline for it. So
Very cool, man. What a cool experience it is to see where you've come, to see the original and then where it is now. Very awesome transition. Give us some context again of who you are and what your goals are.
yeah, I'm a mid-level UX designer. I worked primarily in design and also research, spending most of my time in both. And I also had 2 years of startup experience before that. You see how over here in the website I kind of separated both, because it's kind of like just very entry level stuff. I don't want it to kind of water down the work I did in the hospital that I was in for 5 years. But yeah, it's just kind of earlier work that's also there. But yeah, plenty of experience in making decisions based on research and executing it within a team.
Heck yeah. Did you end up going the AI route for your portfolio?
For Cloud Code, yeah, I use that to kind of build a website.
Nice.
But yeah, use the of course, like revise the text and the case study work to like make sure that it's all authentic and actually what happened. But
Sure. Yeah. Tim and I are previously both Framer users. We've both transitioned to Claude Code. What a cool experience. Let's see. I'm trying to think where to start with the conversation, Tim. Ahmed, pull me back a little bit. Was there a specific place you were looking for feedback on? Like we no longer have to restrain ourselves to the entire PDF. You looking to focus on the overall aesthetic, the case studies, about page, anything in particular?
I'm curious to hear like what case study that you'd be interested to click into, and whatever you choose, dive into that. And also just overall impressions and stuff.
Cool. Tim, I've got a couple of things written down, but I'd love to pass the mic to you if you're ready.
Yeah, I can speak. Okay, so when you're working with AI, there's a couple of AI artifacts that it loves to sneak in that I just recommend being aware of, which is one, it struggles with alignment of animated buttons. As you can see here, you have an arrow and you have send some of my projects, and you'll notice that the alignment isn't quite right. That's a very small detail, just a thing to kind of watch out for. It also loves to do these eyebrow headers that are not needed, right? When you think about selected work case studies, this is like two labels that say the exact same thing. I would just remove those. Over here, you even have earlier work where the instinct started. I would probably just rename this earlier work, something like that. But probably make it match here. So this could also be selected work. Something to that extent. Now, when you're coming down here, when I'm making a decision about what I want to click on, the very first thing I obviously look at is the image, but the second thing I look at is titles. Right now, your images don't tell me a lot about your projects, and that could just be a symptom that images can be hard to read at scale. Maybe Nate will have some feedback on this. So I'm reading your titles, improving provider experience. It's great. You're solving a problem here. A design system people trust. Kind of telling me what problem you're solving here, and then elevating the student voice. I guess a little bit. I'd be looking for these, though, to include a little more detail to inform me of an opinion about which of these to spend my time on. For example, improving the provider experience by doing a certain mechanism, right? By doing this UX thingy, right? Or you could even do like, instead of saying a design system people trust, you might say like creating a design system with like, say like 700% adoption over 3 months, right? And so this states the outcome, the problem, and also the result, like all in one. So kind of creating titles like this that are a little bit more, and you can even say creating. So you might even say like designing or directing, but something in here that kind of tells me, it gives me a better opinion. It helps me decide between these, which of these is actually worth my time, because I'm only going to have time for one, and I'm most likely to just click the first one. But if I do click the first one, I still want to know what am I missing in case I did scan these. That'll be helpful.
Okay.
You do have different hover states. Right, so this is the hover state. You have it's got like a 3D hover, and then also has a shadow. That shadow comes over the text. I just watch out for that. I think these are these two buttons. Yeah. So I'd watch out. It might get a little bit messy looking, although the red text helps. The view case study affordance is very nice. I think that's well done. Getting down here though, it looks like this iPad has no shadow behind it. This Mac has shadow behind it, so that's a little bit different. That's super, super picky though. That is literally me picking the last item on here. So I'd say otherwise this is I think is good in terms of like accomplishing the basic goals. You're telling me your name. You're telling me what your role is. I'm a UX designer. You have a little bit about you. We could use a little bit of a better positioning statement. We've talked a lot about positioning statements today already, so I will not regale you again with it, but positioning statements is always an option to improve here. And then getting into your selected work, you have it. You have some earlier work. You may not even need to show it, but if you are showing it, making it look consistent between each other is nice. Same thing, improving the titling here. And then I think, honestly, that's probably all a recruiter needs to see at this stage. They're going to see you. They know you're a real person. You can include some of your metrics and reasons to read these case studies, and then people click in, and away they go.
I can yes and the case studies section on the homepage. You were asking what case studies we'd be interested in. I come from the high enterprise route. I work at a Fortune 20. And when I'm looking at case studies, let's say we're hiring for somebody within my healthcare organization, I will prioritize two things. One is the first thing I'll look at is for a case study dedicated to my industry, in this case, healthcare, and I'll click on that one first. If I don't see one dedicated to healthcare, I will click on the first one. And the best you can assume is that everyone's clicking on the first one when in doubt. For the most part, the perception will be the first one is your strongest one and the one you most want to present. Therefore, everybody clicks on that one. But I also see that your first one is, in fact, in the healthcare industry, except similar to what Tim's rhetoric was, I didn't realize it was in healthcare, and I would have missed it just accidentally.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, would love for you to add like some industry-specific language in that description. They're like just using the word healthcare in that teaser on the front would have solved that for me. So yeah, feel free to lean more into the industry there.
Yeah, I was kind of going off the advice that you guys had like 2 weeks ago. It's like I want to be kind of like a generalist, like looking for any role, but I have so much experience in the specific industries, so I might as well lean into that, like looking into my job
Healthcare
search
buddies,
in the
man.
future.
If you're in the States, we could use the help.
Yeah, definitely. I'm in New York.
Yeah, you're in New York. Okay, cool. Let's see. Looking at the homepage, well, I don't have a whole lot more for you. You're doing a lot of things correctly, and unless there's like one thing you want us to focus in on, like we could talk more about a case study. But on your homepage, you've got a slider. I would heavily recommend just removing the slider. Not from like an aesthetic perspective. There are benefits to that as well. I guess marquee is a better term for it, Tim. But the real answer is that marquees just don't work. They don't communicate effectively, and that would be better communicated as a list. You may not need it at all. And then beyond that, your about page looks great, man. You've got lots of personality on there. You've got lots of photography and background information on you. Your resume is built into your website, and Tim, don't open that one up because it does have his phone number on there. Though it is public, so theoretically it's already freely available. I think you're doing a lot of things here correctly. Based on the feedback so far, is there anything deeper you wanted to dive in? Any questions about any of that?
I guess a specific case study. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, let's do. I'm looking at the clock. We got 4 minutes. Let's just do a real brief case study review.
Sure.
Give me a second here to take a deeper look at this.
So you'll have an animation mismatch here. If you look at your title loads after the other elements do, when it should probably be the other way around. So just watch out for that. You're gonna want these to have matching experience. Your title is coming up, your description is just appearing, and then your image is fading in. So that's like three different different affordances.
Lots of things going on.
So just watch out for that. That's a very small thing though. Most people probably will not notice that. The small lift on scroll is also nice. It helps direct me to the bottom of the screen where things are going. So visually that's fine. You do have a lot of eyebrow headers. Over here though, some of these become justified because they help orient me as a user to what I'm looking at. Just keep in mind that your mileage might vary. Some people find these sections really important, like my role, team, personally owned, etc. And some people don't care at all. So just knowing who you're targeting, whether they care or not. Process, awesome. Decisions, problems.
I've got, first off, I think your case study is doing a lot of things really well. We could totally talk about them. We've got 3 minutes left. Therefore, I'm going to skip them. But I know that we see that you're doing a lot of things well and don't feel like we're only providing you negative feedback. Is that okay?
I want as many negative feedback as you possibly can give me so I can make my portfolio the best it can be.
Well, fantastic. Negative's not going to be the word we'll use. I think your case study is at an optimization stage where it's easily 80% of the way there. Now it's like, how much can we polish it and optimize it to get to maybe 85%? That's really what my focus is on now. I think the biggest opportunity for you is some of the storytelling aspects here. So you've got a lot of textual content here, not a problem, with the exception that when it comes to folks consuming your case study, it will be only folks skimming. Recruiters, hiring managers, peers, and other generic folk. No one's reading your entire case study. Now it's just, how can you make a case study consumable for only that of folks that skim through it? And now it's leaning into a lot of your titles. So we can solve those in two ways, skimmers. We can solve them with really awesome storytelling and titles and through really persuasive imagery. Now, I think your imagery is already going a long distance there. There's certainly some arguments for like, oh, I could make that image a little bit more aesthetic looking. You built this portfolio in 2 weeks. I have no doubt you will iterate these case studies as time goes by. And I really appreciate that you're building this live and then getting feedback and testing live. For you, I think the main thing I would focus on are the storytelling in your titles. So for example, Tim, let's go to the My Process section, which is almost at the very top. You have to scroll down slightly. So here's your title, The Starting Point. Now, the barometer for success that I'd like you to use is if we were to only read your case study through your titles, theoretically, we should still have an understanding of what you accomplished in the story that you're trying to tell. Tim's pulled up your titles here, and they are generic in nature. The Starting Point, decisions by opinion, limited pushback ability, no organization memory. Actually, those H4s are better. Your H3 Starting Point, applying the framework to provider search, 3 hypotheses, 3 verdicts. Those ones are a little bit weaker, but like overall, your mentality is still in the right place. If we look at just your My Process section, the Starting Point, I would describe that as like, summarize that section in your title. Like, for example, you've got that statement, 3 problems stood in the way. That's already a better title than the Starting Point.
Right.
You also mention, I joined the web team at University of Rochester Medical Center in that first section. If you're okay with it, I would just cut that first paragraph entirely. The quandary is, by mentioning school as the first one, folks will automatically assume this is a conceptual case study. And I would prefer them to assume that this is non-conceptual. And if you're okay, if you're comfortable just killing that first paragraph there, just starting with 3 problems stood in the way, we A, get rid of that perception, and B, we enable better skimmability to begin with. Are you feeling comfortable with that?
Yeah, no, I thought it was, I guess, helpful as context for like, what was I looking at before I got here? But I guess this section in of itself, it should be good context.
Nice. And then keep in mind, as you go through this and work on rewriting some aspects, keep in mind that the goal is skimming. You do have blocks of text that are a little bit lengthy. And now your goal is, can you communicate those blocks of text through imagery? Or if not, can we find a way to reduce it, to reduce the amount of text so people can read like only 2 lines at a time? That's the overall goal. Really easy to say, really hard to do. But that's where my mindset's at. Beyond that, Tim, any yes ands? Anything else you want to chat about?
Yeah, I kind of if you can get to a place where the context that people need is embedded, right? It's kind of like those things of, if you ever have to explain to someone how something works, the product's probably not intuitive enough. Yeah. Same thing with the case study, is if you have to stop and explain something to someone, it may not be well written enough for them to follow along, especially from a skimming standpoint. So, Nate's saying, like, instead of saying My Process, just put the point as the title, right? So like the goal, make research, produce actionable answers. I wrote it backwards. 3 problems stood in the way. Here's the problems. It just getting straight into it and letting this be the context itself, rather than having to tell someone, hey, I'm about to tell you the context. Just give them the context in this case. Now, they're both valid. They're different strategies. They're both valid, so your mileage will vary. This just happens to be the framework that we tend to support the most. The one thing I do struggle with is some of your images. It's not because your images don't have like labels on them, it is probably a little bit because there's like no in between states here. There's nothing. There's no like process I'm seeing within the image or like design artifacts here. And I might actually prefer to see some of the versions you went through, or see more of the maybe some of the messy in between parts before getting to a place where you're like, this is the feature or this is not the feature. I don't know if this project specifically supported that, but if it did, I think visuals can tell such a strong story. And right now, these visuals are not telling too much of a story for me.
Okay. Yeah, there was of course plenty of iterations, but I see so many portfolios that like skip that messy middle, and I'm like, okay, it's just a standard now. But
Yeah.
wanting your opinion on that. Because I could like there's like especially for this H3 hypothesis 3, I have like 10 different iterations of this specific like just this button. And I could tell a little mini story on that, but I don't know how valuable that is.
Yeah, those mini stories tend to be great for interviews, right? Because it shows like mastery of the domain. It tends to be very relatable. You know, how many of us have never had to design the same button 10 times before? And then this lets you kind of have something that's relatable and inject it in here, and then you can connect to it. Now, you obviously can't choose every single one of those to have every single story. You're going to have to pick and choose which ones to include. But having a few of those in there definitely helps it to mature and kind of be more whole.
Okay.
Ahmed, I'm looking at the clock. How are you feeling? Do you feel like you got at least a little bit of value out of the conversation?
No, definitely. Lot of mini fixes, a moderate fix here and there, you know. But appreciate the kind words and helpful feedback.
Well done getting this far in your portfolio after only 2 weeks. You are cruising at a speed here we don't typically see, so I think you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
That's going to do it for Feedback Friday today, folks. We are going to be entering our Q&A session, but if you're new here and you want to add your portfolio resume for a future session, would love to see you on a future Friday. We do this every Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you want to go back and review anything we talked about today, I'm going to add a link to our YouTube channel. Everything was live streamed and recorded today. That's the spiel. That's all I got. Tim, any last words before we enter Q&A?
No, thanks for being here, guys, and we're grateful for you. And we'll see you next week.
What about Q&A, folks? Any questions out there that we could potentially answer and chat about? Tim, it looks like you're a little bit tired today. What's going on?
I went to bed at 5:30.
Ooh, why so late?
Yep. I got carried away doing stuff. The way it happens. But man,
Playing video games.
feel that. Not playing video games. Yeah. But no, in fact, the sun was up when I went to bed. Which
Excellent.
is never a good feeling. Oh, it's
Not a
never
great
a
sign.
good
So you've
feeling.
been awake. You had like 2 hours of sleep is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, that's where I'm at.
Right on.
That's where I'm at. Yeah, but it's good. I'm happy to be here. Would have missed this.
Chat, what do you
Q&A,
think about
guys.
that positioning utility that Tim and I are working on? Tim, pull that back up. A couple of cool things that we haven't like expressed here. So that is, it'll ask you what kind of role you're targeting, and then I really like Tim. I really liked Tim the trade-offs drop-down menu that expresses like, well, if you don't know what a specialist is or a generalist is, we could then negotiate like what of these sacrifices you think you're better willing to take. I really like that, and I think that's going to go a long way. One of the fears I have, Tim, is that it's asking the user a lot of questions, and I'm worried that it's too great a friction, that people are going to get like halfway through it, and then they'll be like, it's fine. I don't need it anymore.
Yeah, I mean it's possible, but this is one of those things of I remember doing research years ago and I can't remember the name of the app, but it famously had 26 onboarding steps. But the conversion for those onboarding steps was unbelievably high. And it's kind of a product thing is as people perceive greater personalization and they see the importance of doing something, it becomes more likely that they finish doing it. And so I do think it's incumbent on something like this where we're like trying to help them. Being specific here has a benefit. Although I accidentally did create the Superman shape here, or I guess maybe more like RNA. It's like our RNA shape here.
Oh, sure, I see that.
Yeah. Where do I work? I would work sustainability would be kind of cool. We'll do healthcare just because we can.
We could certainly use the help in the healthcare space.
Yes. If they'll take us, they'll take people.
Chat, 1 out of 10 rating of the American healthcare system.
It's gonna be brutal.
No one's even here.
Oh yeah.
We're all just background voices for them. 4 is not, I mean, that's about where I'd put it, yeah. I'm torn, arazin, with the American healthcare system because I think the quality is solid. But my gosh, does it come at a cost.
The skill, it is truly terrible. Having worked on the ground, like being inside the emergency department, like working inside hospitals, truly the caliber of personality and culture is awful. Like astonishingly so. Like the norm, just like the normativeness of hazing, bullying, aggression, complete disregard for other human experiences is wild. It's wild. Like, and it's so pervasive. Everyone. But at the same time, these people have done the training, they've done the skill. And so it's like a bizarre power position of like, these guys have basically gone through a little bit of hell for a couple of years, and then they go into the system that rewards them by putting them with other people who reward bad culture and personality decisions, but benefit them wildly for having very bold skill choices. And so it is like a really interesting mixer. And then, of course, the systems part of it, like the incentives for what makes money inside of healthcare is also really broken.
Tim, we've got an interesting question here that I think you are personally prepped to answer from Don. From your experience, how different is the process of landing a part-time UX position compared to a full-time UX position? Are employers looking for different levels of experience, portfolio quality, or skill sets when hiring for part-time roles versus full-time roles?
Yeah, and Nate, you can also speak to this one too. But if we just take a quick stab at this, there's kind of when you're working on a team. Oh, we'll see if we can get here. Maybe my internet's going out.
No visuals?
You gonna work?
By the way, I was thinking of you specifically for this question because of your background and experience in fractional design.
Yes. So there's teams that work on projects. And there's teams that work on like I don't know how to call it in-house / embedded. And when a team is basically, depending on where they are in their life cycle, one approach is we have 10 people and that's all we need. Except the project has grown a little bit. So now we actually need +2 people. But we really only need them for this project. And so this is where freelancers and part-time roles come in, is that they typically support this project-based initiative. And so they're looking for people who are very good at taking an isolated environment, little context, and then working within that to drive a very good goal. And so these people are not strategists. These are executing, just I don't know, functional might be the better word for it. These are functional people. These are people who do stuff. Then there's other teams that are looking to say, hey, we have 10 people currently. We have a bunch of projects. We have like 5 projects this year. And we anticipate that we're going to need 2 more people, but we need them for all 5 projects. And we probably need them across like a year. And we've already validated that this is going to need it, and there's a long-term need here. And so these people, they want people who can do thinking and strategy, because they're going to have broader ownership across more surface area, and they need to be able to direct stuff, right? And so there's kind of a when you look at this, it's kind of tough to tell what companies can be here. Companies that are like growth minded, high growth, and there's companies that are like high. What's the other phrase here? I'm tired. I'm tired and my brain is going out. There is a way to tell when a company is in this phase of they're hiring per project versus they're hiring for long-term goals. And typically it comes down to the type of budget they have approved, which is of course dependent on the type of success their team has had, which is dependent then on the business problems that they're solving and the maturity of certain life cycle stuff. And to avoid going into that whole rabbit hole, because I would say if you're interested in part-time work, look for teams that are working on projects that are based on like known timelines. And then you play a supportive role by saying, I work really well on teams. I'm a good follower. You can hand me stuff. I work autonomously. I can do that. And if you want to be in-house embedded long-term projects, which may not be, as much money, right? When you think about these shorter term projects, these are typically worth a little bit more money, because you get to control that a little bit. These ones in-house, you have less control, even though you're doing more strategy. So you don't necessarily make as much money, but you're there a lot longer over time. I mean, you get the benefits of being full-time, W-2, et cetera. If you want to be on this team, make sure to show your thinking, your process, how you direct things, how you work with teams when you have helped teams get through very complex problems over time. This kind of leans there. That's what I would say, Nate. That's how I would respond to this question.
Okay. Yeah, my mind really only goes in two different places to answer that question. So is the process of landing a role as a part-time or UX different from full-time? The only thing that comes to mind there is that when it comes to part-time UX roles, in my experience, they tend to skew more senior than mid-level or junior. The objective there being that part-time roles are typically symptoms of a project not having the larger budget to hire somebody full-time. Therefore, they need to hire somebody that doesn't need a lot of oversight because budgets are already constrained. So they need to be able to hit the ground running. That said, the only other factor that comes to mind is part-time roles also tend to be contractors. They don't tend to be FTEs. Well, I mean, by definition, but they don't tend to be employees of an organization. So being a contractor is the more commonplace hurdle. And that is it says less about the company and more on like who's attracted to being a contractor. So like those are the only variables I can think of. I don't know if that helps in answering the question.
I would throw in there, depending on the budget too, for these short-term projects, sometimes recruiters are not the people who are leading the hiring efforts when it is a project-based thing, right? This might be like the team lead who could be like maybe an executive person. Like it could be a VP, someone who's a little bit higher up says, we need this role. I know a guy, or I saw these 5 people on Twitter who all seem like they could do this, and we're going to chat with these guys on Twitter. Versus longer term roles, there's more HR and red tape here, and their process a little bit more standard. So keeping in mind that the range here for project-based freelance work is so broad that it does not always follow a very clean or even fair process.
Tim, do you have
I've actually literally Do I ever zoom out? Do you want me to zoom out?
No, I was going to ask, do you ever zoom out and look at your drawings and then be like, what the heck have I done?
Oh yeah, look over here.
This is all from
What is
today, I
this?
think, right? Oh,
Slow fashion, Dr. Pepper.
that was from last
But
week.
it is from last week.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the time. All the time.
Sarah's working on a long question about identifying seniority. I mean, feel free to start typing it. Looking forward to
No years of experience. Yeah.
learning more about your question. Yeah, we're answering questions from the chat.
Yeah, this is pretty laid back. This is me, Tim, at the end of his rope because he didn't go to sleep on time. So he's running on fumes. And Nate, pristine, composed,
Polished.
very, very much together.
Something I've wondered is when we do these sessions, I basically only wear this shirt. When I became a father, I prepped for being a father by buying a bunch of comfy clothes with the objective of being awake at all hours of the night, right? So I bought like 8 pairs of sweatpants, 8 pairs of this gray long sleeve shirt. Turns out I love them, and it's all I wear now. And I've often wondered if chat cares that I only wear the same shirt every single time. Chat, have you ever even noticed? I feel like it's more noticeable when you go to our YouTube page and you just scan the page and it's just Nate in the same shirt over and over.
I've noticed because you wear flannels in the wintertime.
I do. It's colder in the wintertime.
So that's the variation is that is it is winter colder?
All right. Here
cool.
is this long question.
Okay.
My gosh, this question needs chapters. Well, let's see. There's a job description following the question. So the question is, I'm a junior UX designer, 2 years of experience, and I recently applied for a contract UI UX designer role at a local school district. Oh, education. Good luck. When I first saw the posting, I initially thought it was a senior-ish role, but since there was no years of experience listed, I applied anyway, thinking I'd just be rejected. I got an interview invitation, which implies that someone read my resume, but I know it's possible they didn't look closely at my actual experience. Okay, and then you've pasted in the job description. I'm scrolling down. My question for the sub, how do you accurately gauge seniority when a job description completely omits years of experience? Is it common for government tech roles to, there are other questions, but let's start with that one. How do you accurately gauge seniority when a job description completely omits years of experience? Tim, I don't know if you have a quick answer to this. For me, the quick answer would be the title and then the amount of strategy incorporated in the bullets. But typically the titles would say it. Like in our industry, we'd be looking for junior UX designer, or senior UX designer. And then of course, onward. Beyond that, Tim, what are things you're looking for?
I ignore years of experience, except for things that only require 1 or 2 years of experience. Because for me, the people I tend to work for and the sphere I tend to be in is a lot less about years of experience and much more about like practical knowledge and like being able to do stuff. For example, there's a guy on my team, my current team, who just graduated high school. And like, congratulations to him. Like, great for him. But he's been at this company working. And like, no one would say, yeah, this guy's a junior. Even though he's definitely the youngest person on the team and he just graduated high school. It's more about just as a team, we're very flat. And that's how I've come to think about a lot of things too, is that it's just about what skills you have. And sometimes you need a title because there's certain levels of accountability that come with stuff. You still need a CTO, someone who's responsible for some of that stuff. So you need someone who's in charge of IT, someone who can take the fall on certain things. But I have a challenge now when it comes to years of experience because I think it's kind of a little bit bogus. It's much more important to think about the quality of those years, which is something you typically only find when you're talking to the individuals. I will say though that if you think of yourself as a junior UX designer, This role does say inside of it lead UX UI designer. And a typical lead role would probably be 5 to 8 years of experience, probably. If not not even being senior, so you might even be looking at like 8 to 12, right? In terms of like the hard rules for it, and thinking about there's even a system. Nate's going to tell us the system. He's going to say here's the different levels of seniority inside of a corporate structure, because Nate knows it. Nate knows it. And I it's never been my thing. I would also say looking at the responsibilities is a really good measure of experience needed. For example, in here, this is saying this role played a critical part in transforming complex payroll HR processes into intuitive user-facing experiences. Candidate brings a strong balance of design expertise. So they're asking for design expertise, business understanding, technical collaboration, as well as AI. So when I read this, for me, my interpretation is they have a tech team. They don't have a dedicated designer. They're looking for someone to come in and basically own their design system. And they are trying to stay forward by having an AI first point of view. I imagine, though, if I was going to be so bold as to predict this, going in here, you're probably going to have so much uphill resistance to a ton of these things, because it sounds like this role is being created, which means that you're going to have to take ownership for establishing all of the practices. So, for example, when it says key responsibilities, lead UX designer, replace legacy system, I bet there's not a plan to do it. I bet they're expecting you to make the plan for it. Translate complex payroll HR workflows into streamlined intuitive user experiences. That means almost nothing. It just means that you're probably going to be working on payroll type design work. Stakeholder collaboration, it has like leading design workshops. I bet they have no design workshops, so you'll probably have to be the person who puts them on the calendar or just don't do them. It looks like this role, though, has a ton of autonomy and self-responsibility for it, based on the description here. And so that's what I'd flag. If you're someone who can self-start this stuff and you're good at politics on a team, this role would probably fit you well. And if you're not good at politicking, you may struggle unless the team is actually not looking for someone this mature and self-starting. That wasn't the question, though.
You've got a couple of other questions in here that I think are fun to look at. I'm going to skip the middle of them and go right to the last question. Well, it's not even a question. You're just commenting. I'm wondering if I should just cancel. Thanks for any insights. Let me be the first. If you've never heard it from anybody else, let me be the first to say, never, ever, for any reason, choose to cancel a job interview. Period. There will be exceptions to that rule, no doubt. That's a very black and white statement. It's only Sith deal in absolutes.
I can tell you one exception.
What?
I can tell you one exception off the top of my head.
What's the exception you're thinking?
When you realize it's a competitor to a company that you're actively working on. This happened to me in the past. And that's a weird situation where you realize you're about to go interview with people who are competing with a company that you're actively working for. And you may be direct competitors. And then in which case it would violate probably your contract rules to go talk with them and maybe get you in bigger trouble later on.
I might still take that interview unless you're describing your contract specifically stipulates you can't even talk with the other opportunity. So where my mind is at, Tim, is even if this role is too high level for you, Sarah, let's say you're a junior and this is a senior role and you know you're not going to get this job. Interviewing is still practice in so many ways. Practice interviewing, practice talking about yourself, practice storytelling, practice negotiation. Also, because you know, let's assume you know you're destined for failure here, that gives you full freedom to experiment with anything you possibly want to do. I am a full-time employee at a large organization. I am always passively looking for jobs. I had an interview a couple of days ago. I'm not actively looking to switch, but I'm always taking interviews to practice interviewing. Tim, with that mindset, would you still have declined that job offer or that job interview?
In this particular case, when I did decline this one, it was definitely to protect myself, because I know they would have been upset to learn about this. But in terms of like, if you get a conversation with someone, even if you think you have no shot of doing it, well, okay, there's two ways to look at this. You can look at this as, is this going to waste my time? Is this going to waste their time? In which case you have to say, yeah, just don't do it. If it's a waste of time, don't do it. But often they're not just a waste of time. It's good networking. It can be good practice. Things are not always what they seem, right? This title, well, it's your own time too. It's your own time, right? You gotta think about like your mental wellness. But if you look at this title, like this job description here as seeking sales, this is a pretty generic listing for a job summary. It's totally possible that even though they're listing a whole bunch of things, they actually don't mean some of this stuff. And so you could interview and they could be like, yeah, we really just need this very narrow skill. And you'd be like, I'm the perfect person for that. I can absolutely 100% do that any day. So
I'm describing that even if it's wasting the other company's time, ethically dubious, I think, to still take that interview, I might still do it because it's practice in all kinds of ways, but also it's still networking with the absolutely perfect clientele.
it's true. It's true. As long as you're not getting yourself into legal trouble.
Let's see. Woo has a question here, but I don't know if we've answered all of Sarah's questions. Is it common for government tech roles to look for junior/mid-level talent for sole designer projects to save on budget? I don't know if I have an answer specific to government tech roles. Is there any reason why they would be unique to the rest of the industry here? I can't think of a reason. I don't have a good answer for that, Sarah, but I would suspect that government tech role is hiring the level of designer on average similar to that of the industry.
I think my instinct is that Sarah's correct. I have no data to affirm it.
Just pure gut.
So hard to say. But in my own experience looking at government roles, they hire for junior and mid levels and then in-house promote people to senior levels. And they often don't offer salaries that are competitive at senior levels. Instead, they lean on benefits and other things. So they tend to have more. They have better management structures than a lot of other companies do, right? Where you think about like one of the benefits of having a lead designer is that the lead designer can self-manage in a lot of ways. At a government level, a lot of times they have dedicated project managers. And so the project manager is like part designer, part project manager, and they just need someone who can do the dedicated tools. So the juniors and mids tend to work a little bit better and they together holistically make up that lead level kind of experience. But I'm not in the government, so it's hard to say. I have a friend who's in the government, though. I have a friend who works at a government level. That is what I just described is exactly their experience. So,
final question from Sarah. What specific questions should I ask in the interview to figure out if this role expects senior level output for junior level pay? There's two questions in one there. So one is asking about pay, and the other is asking about expectations for the role. If we were to answer the expectation one, my typical answer to this is well, for the record, I don't typically, I pretty much always know the level of expertise they're looking for when starting the interview. It's unusual that you wouldn't. But if you really are entering a job interview without an understanding or comprehension of the level and seniority they're looking for, then I would probably default back to scope questions and potentially team size questions. Like Tim was describing, if there's already 7 designers there, then they're likely much more willing to hire junior mid-level folk. If this is a brand new role or there's only one other designer, chances are they're leaning more towards seniority of some kind. Tim, any challenges with that mindset?
None, except two things. None to that specific thing. I would just say there's also maybe an implicit level of how the speed of how teams work on more government-centric agencies like this, and how busy they are, and then what performance reviews look like, that are all worth asking about. But continue.
That's all I've got. That's all Sarah's got in her, at least her lengthy question. Dawn is asking a question. We'll get to that in a second. Wu is asking, for creative portfolio, what's more important, strong visuals in a clean layout or highly interactive website experience? As a video editor, where should I focus my effort? Strong visuals or strong visuals in a clean layout or high interactivity?
No. It often, so it's hard to say for sure, right? But as a general rule, the layout determines the experience of storytelling a lot more than, like, if you have lots of interactivity but no layout, your interactivity is gonna lead you astray. If you have very strong layout, minor tasteful interactivity goes a long ways. So having a good structure and story that basically is your layout. Your layout is your story, because it determines the order of operations someone experiences something in, and it helps them find the website navigable, and also helps them just discover content from you in the right way. There's also a strategy that's embedded inside of layout. Oh, am I cutting out? Probably cutting out a bunch. Okay. There's if you have a good layout, you have to have already done the research and strategy for knowing who's going to be on your website. And that is the foundation for interactivity. So,
last question from Don here. This will have to be the last question for me. I've got to take off. Tim, you can go back to sleep. Don is asking a personal question. How did you and I meet? Have you ever worked with each other? And if so, how was your experience working with one another? Don, would you believe that Tim and I met? It's a chicken
in
or egg
San
situation?
Francisco, and we were both in a fight club,
Which
and
we don't speak of.
We don't speak of, so we can't tell you.
Don, would you believe that Tim and I met on Feedback Friday? That it wasn't the other way around? Design Buddies sent out a message asking for folks to host a Feedback Friday, and Tim and I were the folk that volunteered. That was a year ago. In regard to working with each other, unless you count Feedback Friday and then our personal brand Design Shaped, unless you count that, we've never worked at the same organization with each other before.
But we do have an eerie amount of mirrored life experiences. We have it's truly been like the universe put us in the same place, and we just happen to be doing the same things. So it's worked out really well for us.
Tim, I've got to take off. Chat.
What do you think of that Fable trailer?
So okay, chat. There's the video game Fable. Tim's unfamiliar, and I described it as The Witcher, but goofy. And I think that's a reasonable description. So the next Fable's coming out, 2027. The first
did not look goofy to me.
No, it didn't. It looked very serious. But Tim also sent me the second trailer. Tim, if you ever go back and watch the first trailer with Richard Ayoade, for all the British comedian fans in the chat, it's very goofy. And then they released 30 minutes of gameplay, and it begins with a talking pig who they have raised to be slaughtered at a festival, and the pig has learned to talk, and the pig is like, hey, don't slaughter me, and it's up to the hero to like choose whether or not to save the pig. But it's very whimsical and silly, and that's what I want out of Fable. Whimsy. I think it looks great. I did also notice they changed the protagonist's aesthetic. I don't know if it's the same protagonist, but when the first Fable trailer came out in 2023, there was a lot of classic like internet uproar that the main character, the main protagonist, wasn't attractive, and that's apparently a big deal in internet land.
I would think so. You know, I play video games chasing the dream, Nate, that one day I'll be as attractive as you are. So I could understand why someone empower someone as powerfully attractive as you, Nate, would miss this insight. But here we are.
Have you heard of Paralives?
I've not.
It's
I was gonna say this is the weakness between Nate and I, is that Nate has played a bunch of video games that I have not played, and we've read completely different books somehow. So we've never played the same video games, we've never read the same books, and we have occasionally seen some of the same media content. But it is wild how everything else except for those interests collide.
Wait, hold the phone, Vic. Aowati is coming to Taskmaster 22. Do you know that for sure? Because I have been dreaming about him as a contestant on there. Tim, Taskmaster, a show you've seen?
I'd heard about this news.
Oh my lord.
Yes, I heard this news.
I have to text my wife immediately. My priorities have changed.
Cancel everything. Cancel all. Cancel Feedback Friday. Cancel jobs. Cancel AI. Cancel everything. We stop it all for this.
I don't know how I feel. Okay, Vic, you and I are on the same page here. Matt Lucas from Bake Off. I don't know if I've seen him in a couple of things. He's also like he's been in a lot of stage productions too. He was in Les Mis. I don't know how I feel about Matt Lucas, but Richard Ayoade is going to be awful at Taskmaster. Just awful. I'm so excited.
Which one is Matt Lucas? Is he
bald guy? Bald's not even the right word.
Bald.
What's the disease?
He's like completely hairless.
Yeah. What's that disease called? It's that one.
I don't remember.
The hairless disease.
I'm going to be honest. The first time I remember seeing him was in Alice in Wonderland with Johnny Depp.
Oh.
And I remember people were being like, "Oh, that's so cool," and I was like, "This character bothers me." And now, every time I see him in content, I'm like, I'm kind of off put still to this day by that experience, which I think is the experience actually of watching Alice in Wonderland. So,
to me, he feels slightly forced. Like then watching him in Bake Off, it feels like he is putting on a character as opposed to being himself.
It's definitely hard when you're being compared to a vampire the whole time. So,
chat, Vic, pleasure talking with you. Best news of the day. Tim, I want you to know I have purchased and downloaded Control to my computer.
Let's go. I got a new game too recently. It's good. It's good to have video games again to play.
What game did you get?
Not Fable though.
You can't leave us hanging.
I'm gonna leave you hanging, Nate.
Can you give us a hint?
I mean, it's not a secret, but Nate, I need you to play Control. You've got to stay single-minded. You have to play Control. Now it's important. You have to finish Control before Fable comes out.
I mean, I have 7 months, 8 months. I'm going to be okay.
I don't know, Nate. I don't know.
That's fair. I've got a 16-month-old.
If you want, you can play. If you play Control and stream it, I will hang out with you while you do that.
Good. Excellent. All right, chat. Tim, it's been a pleasure. Vic?
You use a gaming PC, right?
Yeah. I'm trying to get out of here, man. I have a whole.
What's your specs? What are you running?
I've got a 4090 Ti Super, if that's the one you're looking for.
That's pretty good. It's pretty.
I
don't know anything about him. I can't speak to it at all.
It's good. I built the game. I built the machine specifically for AI rendering because I thought that was going to be a bigger thing. Turns out local is really not a huge thing in the current market
anymore.
Yeah, like Stable Diffusion was the big AI at the time.
Mm-hmm.
That's all locally rendered, but I mean, it's not all locally rendered. You can still outsource that.
Well, at least you could source work to yourself, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
I bet it's worth a lot more than it was when you built it. So
I do have 64 gigs of RAM. So I could put those, I could make millions selling those.
yeah. Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Your cat's giving us the thing. So let's do it.
Goodbye, everybody. Appreciate you.